Still really bright, but it's okay. Hello. Hello. All right, so we are back to doing lives. It's been a while since I have been doing all three. You ready? Dropped everything. Well, it's good to see you on here. Hey, Fudge and Kids, good to see you. Well, let me get this bright so I can see it. Yeah. All right. It's like all, every camera's like different in here. Hello, hello. Just getting logged in here. Trying to fix a mess in this office. Whatever it is. All right, so just hopping on here to narcissism, all that stuff. So hasn't been as busy a week as it was last week, but I think like this week has already been, oh gosh, like 10 different people, 10 different appointments. Been able to talk to a bunch of people, been able to like have some really cool like breakthroughs with a couple people that just, you know, we're holding on to certain things or we're trying to figure out certain things. And I've been reading a bunch. Got a new book over the week from my therapist who actually recommended it. So it's been interesting. But it's called Unpunishable. It's ending our love affair with punishment. And it's been a very interesting. And I was like reading through it and I was like, oh, this is cool. And then I was like, okay, this is kind of convicting. And then I got to this one section about repentance. And the author gives an example of how it's supposed to look and how it's not supposed to look, but he gives an example, and as he's going through the example, like he tells this guy like, hey, you need to go get like a clinical analysis, and the guy comes back with covert narcissism. And I was like, oh crap. And I started reading through like the actual example and I was like, yeah, this literally sounds like me. So I was like, this is pretty bad. But yeah, so anyways, how's everybody doing tonight? Got some people joining, got some people on. So awesome. Yeah, would love to hear from you guys with anything going on, with anything of life happening. For sure. The author on it is Danny Silk. Unpunishable, ending our love affair with punishment, Danny Silk. And it's actually kind of interesting because as I was reading it, I started realizing it talks in the very beginning about punishment versus discipline and how a lot of our culture just wants punishment and just wants people to pay. And so it comes from a Christian perspective. And so it's talking about how like people in the church want punishment, you know, versus like people actually being like restored or like working through stuff. And it also like was very clear to me that like after my first affair, like what I went through with the church was punishment, you know, just flat out punishment. And as a result, like it didn't really change. I didn't change. Like it didn't change like my heart. It didn't change what was going on. It didn't change anything like that. It was just straight old punishment for punishment's sake. And as a result, like we were still stuck in the same exact spot as what we were before. So, for a couple other people that are watching, just FYI, I am streaming it on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. So I normally try to bounce back and forth. I haven't been on YouTube or Instagram in a while as far as a live. So I will not be doing a very good job responding to comments on there, just letting y'all know. I try to do TikTok mainly and then kind of go from there. But just want to give you guys a heads up. So seeing everybody join, guys, thank you so much for liking and for sharing. Just let people know. Let people know that we're here. We're here talking tonight about narcissism and everything. Cool. What do we got? Here we go. TikTok name is still the same. Raw motivations. It's just underscore. So raw underscore motivations. Cool. All right. Anyways, so that was a little bit about me. Been reading that book recently. Been reading another book, which is really cool. Just if we're in the middle of like sharing, discipline equals freedom. I actually mentioned it tonight when I was meeting with some small group with some guys from church. But it's by Jocko Willink, and it was actually it's really cool. I picked it up initially because it was just a really cool book. Like you can see like what it looks like. It's just, I don't know. To me, it just looks cool. So I like picked it up and reading that. That's been interesting. I had one thing on one of my podcasts that I was talking to about it. Don't listen to my last 2 podcast episodes. They sounded bad. I used a different mic and I didn't realize how bad it sounded. So anyways, all right. About narcissists and their karma. I mean, their karma is how they're going to end up alone and just constantly doing the same cycle over and over. Like it's really not going to change until they get to the place where they're actually honest with themselves. Is toxic positivity common among narcissists? I'm not exactly sure what you mean by that, but yeah. A lot of things like brought me to the place of change, and I need to do like a longer video so that actually people can actually sit down and kind of like watch the whole story. And even then, like sometimes I feel like I don't even know the whole story because there's so many different parts, there's so many different pieces that happen moving through, like helping me learn about narcissism, helping me get to that spot. So anyways, short version. So always was growing up like trying to learn about stuff with building teams, building people, working on developing. I worked for Chick-fil-A for 10 years to develop a lot of teams, a lot of systems, things like that, and got involved in looking into how do I develop those. So like learning about personalities was a huge part. So DISC personality, Myers-Briggs, 16 personalities, Enneagrams. And then I started realizing that something was different. Something was different in my attitude, my actions, and everything that was going on. And, as I was learning about all this stuff, I started getting involved in the one store that I was at here in Virginia. And I pulled up the book that I read on that journey about vulnerability and about shame was Brene Brown's book. Say that 5 times fast. Brene Brown's book, Daring Greatly. And the tagline is how the courage to be vulnerable transforms the way we live, love, parent, and lead. So there's actually a section in it that talks about narcissism. And when I reread it like a 3rd time, I was like, whoa, it talks about narcissism. Where before when I read it, never heard of it. Like I never even like registered, thought of it or anything like that. So read the book, learned a little bit about vulnerability, learned a bit about shame, started realizing that stuff that I had in my life that is actually underlying a lot of stuff. And then, let's see, I got involved with a group called Warrior. So Wake Up Warrior Group by Garrett J. White. So really powerful group that helped thousands of guys and gals, but thousands of people that have gone through like, I don't know, like 50,000 plus people that have gone through his different programs. And it was really good. It helped me cut the lies. It helped me start to realize like, hey, I'm holding a lot of lies. I'm holding a lot of things that are keeping me from a lot of things, like my wife, my job, my God, myself. And then I got involved with a girl. And this is, throughout this whole time, I've been through like cheating, through different affairs, things like that. And then I got involved with a girl who, what I believe had BPD with Narc Tendencies. And as a result, I started seeing what I was doing reflected back at me and being done to me. So like the lying, the manipulating, the cheating, like all that kind of stuff was like huge and like really started eating away at me. It really started like making me realize like, holy crap, like this stuff might actually be real. In a moment of vulnerability, I was talking to my wife and she was like, no, I was like, I don't know what's wrong with me. Like maybe I'm just a sociopath. And so we looked it up and went through it and we were like, okay, not a sociopath. But like went through it and we were like, okay, she's like, maybe you're a narcissist. I was like, what? No. not a narcissist. So then from there, I took like a couple days, started like a small campaign to make sure that everybody knew that I wasn't a narcissist, and that all the people close to me, all the people I was cheating with, you would go back to my wife Kayla and be like, hey, he's not a narcissist, So, but slowly kind of like started seeping through of like, okay, like I actually realized like some of the stuff that they're identifying is stuff that I'm struggling with. It's stuff that I'm like working through. And then probably from that time to the place I actually went to therapy was probably about a year later or so. It definitely took a long time. It definitely took a good while before I got to the place where I even considered therapy. There's another person in my life for a period of time that I would say like helped me like reparenting me as far as like my emotions, like trying to learn like emotions aren't bad, trying to learn different things. And then so I've been in therapy consistently since March. But yeah, that's like a snapshot. I probably need to sit down and do like a longer video, upload it to YouTube so everybody can see. But what helped me most outside of therapy was the Warrior Group. So Wake Up Warrior Challenge, wakeupwarriorchallenge.com, 30-day challenge, 100% worth it. Right now it costs like $300. It's worth 3,000 at least because of what you get out of it. And that's just not for narcissists. That's for like anybody. Any narcissist that I talk to, I say like, you need to go and do this challenge. So far, I haven't heard one that's actually come back and said they've done it, but we'll see. So, yeah, it's interesting. I do have narcissists that reach out to me that want to talk about it or, think they might be a narcissist and things like that. And all. Ex-narcissist told me the first woman he proposed to, I didn't believe it. No, I mean, they proposed to anybody. It's pretty crazy. No, I haven't cheated since starting therapy. I wish to God my kid's dad would get into therapy. They're a sociopath or narcissist. Yeah, I mean, yeah, no, it's crazy sometimes. A lot of narcissists do have like drug or alcohol or porn addiction or like whatever it might be, but a lot of them do struggle with like obsessive compulsive like natures and like being obsessed with different things or having like a very addictive nature for sure. Will narcissists ever regret losing someone who is good to them? No, they won't. They'll regret being able to control them, being able to manipulate them, and all this kind of stuff. They tell you the narcissist puts you back on the defense. Like if you're the narcissist, then you have to defend who you actually are. I don't know why it looks like there's something wrong with my eye. You can kind of see like right here, like there's something wrong with my eye. It's like red. I think my contact like messed up, so I like took that out. Um, but yeah, I think me from different narcs, a lot of it has been a lot of growth, a lot of change, like analytical mindset, and God. I mean, really, that's about it. And like a whole like spectrum of narcissism as far as how much it affects people, different things like that. A lot of times they want to fight for their parental rights, so it looks better for them that they're a good parent, that they care, or something like that, when they actually don't. What is this? Oh. Yeah, so a lot of times they won't give up their parental rights, or they'll fight for it as much as they can because if they can fight for it, then it makes them look better. If they can fight for it, it looks like they're gonna actually be a good person when it's just a facade. I'm mainly on TikTok. I'm streaming on Instagram and YouTube right now, but I mainly answer on TikTok just because there's a lot more people there. Um, so I find that I'm like genuinely changing. I don't think that I'm like changed, healed, or like all of a sudden a lot better, but I am like changing. So a lot of my narcissism comes from early childhood, as far as like emotional support, emotional development, having like a safe pace, being able to process my emotions. As a result, like I would hide, would run, would leave, kind of a thing. What about the narcs who are violent? How do they get help with that anger? Well, if it's a narcissist that's violent, they're not going to really get help about anything because of the fact that they're a narcissist and they're not going to admit who they are. They're not going to be honest. They're not going to own up to who they actually are. So, like, whether they're violent or not, it all comes down to them actually being like honest. I've never had the question thing pop up. Yeah, so like typically, like why? So when someone asks you, like, why do I want him to come back? Like, now I'm finally out. I'm finally free. I'm finally gotten rid of my narc. He's finally left me. I finally left him. Why is it that I want him to come back? Well, a lot of times it's because it's been brought up that you've gotten to a place where you're addicted. You're addicted to the type of abuse, the type of cycle that you've been put through. And what that comes out to is a trauma bond. And a trauma bond is where you miss the abuser. You miss the person that put you through hell. You miss the person that put you through torture and everything like that. And you want them back because sometimes it's because you view like that's the only way you're going to get love, or that's the only way you're going to get attention. And most of the time that is the narc's lies that they put on you, thinking that, you know, the only thing you can do is go back to them to get validation, to get support, to get love, kind of a thing. And as a result, trauma bonds can be very, very hard to break because most of the time, the majority of the time, I would say a lot of trauma bonds are rooted in hope, where you're sitting back and you're wondering, like, wait a second, I'm not with a narcissist right now. Like, maybe this time they're going to change. Maybe this time it'll be different. Maybe if I did something different, it would have changed the response or things like that. And you get really like hooked on the idea of like, hey, maybe this is going to happen. And then you go back and it might happen for a day and then poof, gone. It doesn't last. So typically what we have to do, okay, so when you have a trauma bond, what we have to do is we have to work through it step by step. And that's what I do when I talk with people one-on-ones, especially when we're talking about trauma bonds, is I work with them through step by step. It's what we're doing this coming February. What is it? February 5th. So a trauma bond workshop that we're doing with like five or six people. I don't know. There's a couple more spots open, but like we're working through stuff step by step, explaining what a trauma bond is, walking through it, you know, making sure people understand like you're not crazy for feeling like you want to go back to the abuser. But like going through and how to break the trauma bond is to get down to the core of like, what is that hope? Or what is that story that you're telling yourself? Because typically you get down deep and you start figuring out, hey, what's actually underlying the trauma bond is a story, is something that you're telling yourself of like, I hope that he could change. I hope that like this could work out. Like I want this to work. It could be like, if I would have done something different, it would have worked. If I had loved him better, like if I'd have been blah, blah, and you put all this stuff and it becomes a story. And when you actually take that story, you put it up on the board, we start writing it down. Like, here's the story. Here's your feelings about that story. No, what's actually the facts about that story? Well, the facts, and then we list it right out. So like the facts are, regardless of what you did, like he still would have cheated, he still would have lied, he still would have manipulated, because of the fact that you didn't force him to do that you didn't manipulate him into cheating, into lying, into all those different type of things. And as we go down like that list of different things, we start to see like, hey, the facts actually don't support the story that I'm telling myself. And then we get to the point, which is really cool, of where we sit down and we're like, hey, let's write the right story. Let's actually write a story based on facts. And that's when people start finding healing, and when they actually start being able to break free from the trauma bond and start to be able to move forward. And that's my goal in trying to be able to help people with that. I've never had the question and answer thing work right on TikTok, so I'm actually surprised that it's working. So that's cool. What's the point in him involving his 20-year-old daughter? That's a good question. I don't know. That's a good question. A lot of times they'll involve other people just to try to look sane, to try to look better, whatever it might be. But typically when they're trying to involve other people, they're trying to involve other people in like a triangulation sense of trying to make other people one up each other, trying to get supply better than another one, et cetera, et cetera. Do you notice narcs on TikTok that pose as victims? I'm not going to dive into that because I don't want to start a war with some people on TikTok, but I do know there's people on TikTok that either are narcs or that are empaths, and that are on TikTok posing as empaths, or that are trying to fly under the radar and be whatever. Yeah, I'm not going to get in that. A lot of people want to have a lot of narcs want to have a victim mindset, because if they can be the person that is, you know, hurt, that is, you know, the victim in the entire situation, then they're not responsible. And it goes back to other people. What made you start the TikTok videos on Narc stuff? So it's actually like one of the first couple of things that I did on TikTok. I downloaded TikTok, had it for a while, and then I was like, fine, I'll just go ahead and do it. So actually, interesting thing is like I started off on Instagram. Okay, I started off on Instagram on my personal page, whatever it is, Ben Taylor 30. I started off on my personal page, and I started with posting like just posts about narcissism, posts about things that I'd like gone through in one sense, and they were very, very small in one sense, but nothing like too crazy, too huge. And I started on those posts, and what I got early on is one, I got like hardly zero engagement, and then the engagement that I did get came from other Christians, and they came from other Christians saying like, why in the world are you posting this stuff? Like, why are you putting this out here? Like, do you realize what this is going to do to other people? Do you realize like what this is going to do to like a big one, like, do you realize like what this is going to do to your daughter? Like that she knows this. And I was like, I got to the place I was like, I'd want her to know about this because I don't want her to end up with someone who struggles with narcissism and have her go through the same shit that I put my wife through. Like, are you kidding? Like, this is stupid. And so like I actually kind of got like burned out because I was like, I'm posting this stuff, it's not going anywhere on TikTok, and I mean on Instagram, and I'm just trying to get to a place where I'm like, hey, like I'm just being honest. And that was like a big step for me because I built my life on lies for so long, for such a long period of time. I was just like, I need to be honest, and I need to be so honest that I can't go back from not being honest, I guess, if that makes sense. So like radical honesty in one sense. So then I was like, okay, I'll download TikTok. I download, and I was like, what is this? Like, I don't know anything about this app. And I had it for like months. And finally I was like, screw it. Like, I'll just go ahead and I'll post. So I posted on TikTok about being a narcissist, and kind of from there. And then all of a sudden it just kind of blew up. And then it wasn't too long ago. It's only been like 3 months or whatever that I've been even on YouTube and Instagram because they didn't go anywhere. And so then from TikTok, Lee was talking to me, mental illness. Lee was talking to me, and he was like, you need to get back on them. And so I was like, okay. So I got back on YouTube and Instagram and like spammed everybody for like a month or so as I put up a bunch of shorts to catch up. And then now we're back up on all three. But anyways, I actually like pulling up the questions because I think if I export this later, like it'll actually show. Yeah, it'll be shown on live, but hopefully it'll be shown on the recording too. I told him about my essay. He said he asked for it. I'm confused. I'm sorry. Hand holding, PDA, etc. Random, but are not. Oh, okay. Are Narcs affectionate? It really kind of depends. As a whole, typically Narcs aren't super affectionate to their main supply. They're typically affectionate to the new supply, the next person, but that's only through like the love bombing phase. It's not like it's like long term. You'd have different personalities and different styles of narcs, so I can't say like, oh, they're never affectionate. But like the odds are is they're typically not affectionate because they don't care. Like they don't care about you or like the people around them. So they're not really like affectionate or like loving in that regard. Oh, that makes sense. Let's see. Post. There we go. Can narcs trauma bond? Excuse me. So what I'd say with this is I would say basically no, but I would also say I think it's possible for narcissists to develop some type of a trauma bond if it's with another narcissist or if it's with a like a BPD or like something like that. I do think that's possible. And I'm also kind of saying that like from my experience of being involved with a girl who had BPD narc traits, like I experienced a lot of stuff that it was like crazy for me coming out of it. I was like, what the heck is this? And then diving into it, like realized like more and more is like a trauma bond. So like at the time when I finally like brought it up and like told Kayla, like, hey, I've been cheating on you with this person. Like when I brought that up and told her, that person was still in our life, like interacting with us, involved in different groups, like over to the house, like in a group and everything like that, was still involved in life for another 10 months. Until I finally got to the place where I was like, okay, I got to cut him out of my life because I'm actually choosing to live differently now. I'm actually choosing to like move a different way in life. And I can't have you in my life because I'm still seeing your tendencies. I'm still seeing what you're doing. I'm still seeing you going out and sleeping with other guys, all this kind of stuff. And yeah. So anyways, I do think it's possible, but not with an empath. I don't think a narc would trauma bond with an empath at all. how do you stop being over vigilant with everyone? I think you're probably saying like if you're like getting back into like dating after being with a narc and stuff like that. I mean, really with that, like a lot of it is getting used and understanding what narcissism is, understanding what red flags look like what narcissism actually is. And like that's going to be something that's going to help you as you get involved with someone else, as you start continuing to grow. And like there's going to be a part where you're going to be over vigilant. They're going to be like looking around every corner, like wondering. And then as you get through it, like you'll start seeing like, hey, like there's actually nice people out here. But I mean, after you've been with a narcissist, you want to be pretty vigilant for a good while. Is it wrong to quit your dreams to just get away? I assume you're talking about just get away from the narcissist. So I'd ask you this: what are you willing to sacrifice to stay? Like if you want to stay with a narcissist and you want to be abused, gaslit, manipulated, lied, and cheated on, like what is it worth for you to stay? Is it worth all that abuse? Is it worth your mental health? I don't think so. So I think you need to run. Some people are like, I don't want to leave my job. I don't want to leave this or whatever. Like at the end of the day, like jobs are short term. Like every little aspect about life is like pretty short term. Like, this person being mad at me, this job not working out, like this. At the end of the day, you look back in 5 years and you're like, that really didn't hold a lot of weight in my life. Like I've moved on, I've grown, I've, gone to the next level, whatever it might be. Like, why do they ignore you after a breakup? So typically they're going to hoover you back or they're going to ignore you and wait for you to come back. But yeah. Yeah, my wife did leave for a period of time. So she left, it was probably like, I think it was like 4 months or something like that. But yeah. I think I answered one of those. All right. Cool. I feel like trauma creates excuses. What'd you say? Where'd that go? Creates excuses for all of us to stay when there's no excuses realistic. Yeah, the trauma bond is going to create excuses. It's going to create, like, in your mind, like reasons of why to give another person another chance. No, it's not true that a narcissist is a psychopath. So I think from what I've learned and from what I've seen, I think narcissist is higher. Narcissism is closer to sociopath. And then after that, you go to like psychopath in one sense. Do they have moments of missing someone? Missing controlling someone? Yes. Otherwise, not a ton. But they'll miss like supply. Oh, gotcha. Clarity. I'll get you here in just a minute. I'm sorry. I need to turn it on. I just realized it wasn't on. Do narcs ever get over a narc injury? Not really, but I haven't seen like consistent stuff for like narc injuries. So I don't know if I can tell you for sure. How do you get a narcissist to leave? You leave them. If you're waiting them to leave you, it's probably not going to happen. Okay, so the question, so they never loved us? Okay, let me ask you this. How do they demonstrate love to you? How do they demonstrate their care for you? How do they demonstrate love on a consistent basis to you? That's what it really comes down to. Like I can tell you, like, hey, they never loved you, but in reality, like until you wrap your mind around the fact that like they didn't consistently actually try, they didn't consistently actually work on their growth, their development to be a better person for you, for your family, for your kids, whatever it might be. Yeah. Clarity, let's see if it'll let you go. If you guys are on other platforms, I'm sorry if it doesn't come through too great. I've got it so I don't have like headphones in. It'll go straight to my phone. So if I bring someone live on TikTok, you guys should hear it. If it's not the greatest, I'm sorry. But yeah, I'm on TikTok, Raw Motivations. I'm also streaming on here. Whenever I finish, I'll see about uploading the TikTok recording as well to YouTube. But yeah. But yeah, how contingent were those acts of love? Yeah, absolutely. A lot of stuff is like very transactional. Like a narcissist will be like, hey, like I'll show love, but I better get something back for it. Let's see here. Oh. All right, let's see if we can bring you live. Video of the race. Hey there.
What's going on?
How are you doing today?
Good. Good to meet you. Thanks for letting me in.
Good to meet you. And I'm sorry, I know you by your name, but like by your tag on name. I'm sorry.
Sean.
Sean. Gotcha. It's good to meet you, sir.
Yeah. It's funny because you're, and I was like, yeah, it is kind of weird. I haven't met him before, but
yeah,
maybe we meet over live. Why not?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So yeah, what's going on?
Do you mind if I just ask you questions that like about your own journey?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, say that concept of transactional love, right?
Mm-hmm.
How did you go about tackling that? Like, is that something that was a big hurdle for you?
As far as like my healing, or like what I was doing like during that?
Yeah, your healing and the transformation of kind of working your way out of transactional love.
I think for me, part of the aspect of transactional love was not just like looking at like, hey, what can I get out of it? But a lot of me like looking at love in general was more like, how can I get out of the way? Because a lot of my love wasn't just transactional. It was just based on loving myself. And so like my main thing was like, hey, like I think I'm the best person, so I'm going to focus on that. But as a result, like I wasn't giving much to any love. So like there is some aspects where it's transactional, but there's some aspects that I just didn't give love at all, because it wasn't something that I cared to give of myself, because I was more infatuated with myself than I was, being there for someone else. If that makes sense.
Kind of. So you're saying kind of getting out of your own way?
Yeah, getting out of my own way in order to start learning what actual love is, versus like being in love with like myself or my image or that kind of thing.
So you're saying kind of separating yourself from like your ego and making space to actually love somebody else.
Yeah. And I would say, because like a lot of my stuff that I recall, that I remember in one sense, is not as much transactional. I'm sure there was, but I can't recall specific examples off the top of my head. But a lot of it was more or less like, I'm the victim. I'm the person who, needs to be loved, adored, all that kind of stuff. If I can't get it here, I'll go somewhere else.
Okay. And then that can kind of create that victim mentality can kind of create, hey, now this is going to become transactional, because if I'm not going to get it here, I'm going to get it from someone.
Yes. Okay. So let me,
instead of the concept of like love being like love's there regardless, this idea of that's when it does become transactional. When, hey, if you're not going to give it to me the way I want it, the way I think I deserve it right now, then I can find somebody who can do that, and I know I can.
Yeah, no, that's a good way to put it. Figure that out. Yeah, so I would follow it up. Now that you like rephrase it that way, it like makes a little bit more sense for me. Like I would follow that back up. So like with supplies, or that people that I like cheated with, like that aspect would be transactional, and the fact that like I'm giving you love, attention, and affection, so I expect your loyalty and honor.
Okay, yeah, that's amazing. So and how you did that was transform that was through like mindfulness stuff to separate from the ego, like being aware when you're becoming reactive, or being aware of, kind of like if you're coming into a victim mentality. Is that how you would separate, like just awareness of that?
Yeah, a lot of it is like the mindfulness, but it's getting through like working through my own mind, like what's actually true, what's actually real, like the facts. A lot of times I talk about of like getting to the place of like, hey, what lies am I believing? And so like the lies that I would believe that in my mind would justify what I was doing, that is not right or is not true. But a lot of times
and that'll kind of trigger that mentality and that cycle.
Yeah. I was gonna look. I thought I had my book down here that has like the lies I believe in it, but I don't think I have it down here. I can pull up the digital copy here in a minute. But yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty cool. But I think it's I think everything you do, like your information is pretty like self-aware at this point. So it's so interesting to see like how much work did that take to get to, right? And where was your starting point? Like, if you were on, I think that the love thing is a big concept for all these people, like probably all the people in your audience. And just like you're telling them, like, you're asking them to challenge, okay, so what do you think is love? Like, what's your concept of that?
Right.
And putting it in your point of view is that like if you're triggered or activated in some way where you feel like you're not getting it the way you want it, and you can go out and create it like from someone else. The question is that loyalty, and is that love or is that control?
Right.
Like, that's pretty, and like the self-awareness you have is awesome. And I wonder like where you started and how that evolution looked.
And for me, a lot of times I viewed love as being control. I viewed love as being the person who is controlling someone else, who is controlling everything that was going on. And like, that's what ultimately like destroyed a lot of relationships. It destroyed a lot of lives. And, that made, I guess you could say, that pushed a lot of people away, that I turned into a victim mentality of like, oh, everybody leaves me. When in reality, like what I was viewing as love wasn't love. It was just pure old control, because that's what I thought love was in some aspects. And so as a result, those people would leave. And then I'd be like, see, like, I am the victim. Like, everybody leaves me. Like, here I am being loving and faithful or whatever. And like, all these people are like leaving me.
Yeah. Okay. That's interesting. And did you work with a therapist or somebody or?
So I've been with my therapist currently.
Did you do a lot of your own research?
So not as much research. Probably the biggest stuff that's helped me as far as like dealing with the lies and dealing with like some of the cognitive therapy was going through Wake Up Warrior Challenge. That was like a 30-day challenge that I did, and then I got involved with the Warrior group even more. I've been with my therapist now almost a whole year. So it's like March of last year, and we've been going consistent like every single week. I've got therapy with her, and so that's been like going really well. And I was like thinking today, I was like, honestly, like whenever I go to therapy, like I kind of walk out, and I either walk out and I'm like, hey, like today was really good, or today was really awful, or like, dang, I need to schedule these like 3 times a week, because it's like so much that's like still like stuck in my head. And even though a lot of times I'm like very analytical mindset and I can like break stuff down, like there's still some times where I like walk out and I'm just like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. There's still so much stuff that I'm trying to like work through. I'll joke about it. I'll walk out of therapy, or like we'll finish like a conversation and I'll be like, great, I'm healed. Like, we're all good, but it's just, there's a lot to work on still.
Yeah. Coming out like that, there's like a lot of times I feel like there's that fog or something for like the next couple hours after a session, or like a day after a session. And then I think that subconscious thing, that's what I mean. The subconscious is those emotions, right? Like, we can logically know something, right? We can know something is dysfunctional or doesn't work, and we can know exactly why it doesn't make sense or it doesn't work.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that if we do one session with our subconscious that all of a sudden it's going to let go of those core beliefs. Like, it's not, overnight, because it needs the emotion like over and over and over and over again.
Right.
Is what I feel like. And I mean, what I think is interesting is so back to the concept of love, like in that controlling state, like even a lot of, people that are on the other side of a narcissistic relationship, which the word empath gets thrown around a lot. And sometimes I have a tiff with the word, because it crosses over into codependent behaviors. And people believe that, hey, I'm feeling this person and I'm feeling what they need. And you very may well, and that's like half of the belief. But then when you believe what a codependent usually believes is that if I alter my behavior, I can control their reaction. If I do this, they won't get upset. If I do this, they won't drink as much. If I do this, so that's the same concept of them believing that this attachment, this love is in a sense a control too, which I think is interesting. And that's why it feeds each other, kind of like gears, because the underlying belief is both the same, that, if they're expressing control, And that's all I've ever known. So I believe that's love. And if they believe in love in the same way, whether or not it's triggered by things that could be misguided or have negative effects, right? We still both believe in love as a control.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why a lot of people stay in it very long. And some people don't ever leave or aren't able to, there's a difference between what you're doing, like growing, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
But being with somebody who's actively saying, hey, I'm not going to grow and I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. And this person has all this somatic knowledge where they know all these things now, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they don't leave.
Right. Well, I think there's a lot of times that it's hard for a person to leave because it's either a trauma bond, like it's based on hope, it's based on, the future faking, the lies that they've done. And it's a lot of it is like based on like, how could a person do this? Like, how is this actually like human? Like, how is this actually possible for someone to do this? And it kind of goes against like what they know as like human nature, what they know as like being like the norm or the possibility. So as a result, they hold on a little bit harder, and they hold on to the fact of like on the flip side, you've got the narcissist that's blaming them for so much. Like they get to the place where like, yes, I think there's an aspect where some are like, okay, like maybe I can control them if I change something, but there's also an aspect that like as a narcissist, I've already convinced them that it is their fault. So as a result, they need to change their actions because their actions have caused my actions when that's not the case.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's huge. That's gonna be that idealization,
mm-hmm.
right? Like that idealization, and not meaning that there's some like that people idealize them as some great person, but they idealize them in the sense that they believe they're like them. They go they can't do something that manipulative on purpose because they're seeing it through their lens, and they're going, someone wouldn't do that to somebody else and mean to do it.
I can see that a lot of times.
And intentionally, what was that?
I can see that a lot of times. They're also looking through the perspective that the narcissist gave them to start off with.
Oh, so the kind of gaslit lens.
No, the like the love bombing lens, the future faking, the like, how many times I like talk to people and they're like, yeah, like when the like first date, like I sat down and I like said like, I just came out of this relationship, this is what I'm looking for, and then boom, the narcissist is magically that, because like they've created their perfect self-image to manipulate and to get that person hooked,
Yeah. And then so then once that idealization is there and the behaviors start turning, right, at the point where you go out of love bombing, right,
mm-hmm.
and they're doing something, but they're saying the initial love bombing phase, they're saying I'm doing this, when the person is actively witnessing them do the opposite,
right?
And then that's the point where that's what I mean by idealization, is now they've created idealization in their mind, that they don't believe what the actual truth of what somebody's doing versus what they're telling them they're doing, because they still believe it in the love bomb version.
Yeah, so it's kind of like the like active gaslighting by just living that way in one sense. Yeah.
So that's pretty. Do you think people who are, say, in this chat, who are asking a lot of questions, who are in a relationship, do you believe to the theory that they possibly experienced this before their current relationship?
Like if you've been with a narc, you're going to end up with another narc?
More like like growing up in a environment that was similar. And had that modeled to them.
Yeah, I would say a lot of times like similar, as far as like they've either grown up in a narcissistic household and they didn't turn out narcissistic, or they grew up in a way that they were like not supported in a lot of different ways, and so as a result, like the narcissist could kind of swoop in and kind of like take over, or like be like the savior in the moment, or kind of fill all the gaps. Like I was talking to someone earlier today, and like we talked through some of the stuff with their relationship and everything like that, and then got to the end and was talking to her about like triggers and things like that, and I was like, it sounds like some of the triggers go back to you, like your childhood and stuff like that, not just like the relationship. And as she was thinking about it, she was like, that's right. She's like, I need to actually look the triggers of why am I triggered about certain things. It goes back to who I am, my worthiness, my loneliness, my, need and sense of companionship versus like my relationship with him.
Yeah. I mean, I want to say, I would like to say 9 out of, sometimes it's like 10 out of 10, man, 9 out of 10 clients. If I work long enough, like start at the surface, right? We'll start with the current relationship and we'll go through all those behaviors and why those are undesirable, because why are they seeking information about it? Why are the TikToks resonating with them? There's a reason.
Right.
And it's like, I just binge watched 10 in a row. Why do you think you did that? Like, why do you think you're so interested by it? And then as you worked out, like session after session after session, I want to say maybe more than 90%, we end up in childhood, and there is that directly modeled to them. And so, meaning in their developmental period, like 7 through 14, that attachment style is already developed.
Right.
Like and that's why people always come out and they go, oh, I'm a magnet for narcissists. And they're just attracted. Well, no, you're attracting everyone, but you're more comfortable in that situation with those behaviors because somewhere along the line you've seen them already, or you're used to them. Your attachment style is already built.
Right. Yeah. No, I can see that too. Like I can see, yeah, no, I would agree with that. And also like, that attachment style is very keen for the narcissist to like develop like that bond with and that like addictive nature, because then they'll keep coming back.
Yeah. I would say, this would be a good question for you, is like, people back to that concept, I'm a magnet for narcissism or whatever. And it's like, do you think narcissists have more, not so much like they see you and all these logical things are going on in their mind, right? Like attachment styles and corporate, like they're not thinking like in that sense, right? Do you think it's more like a sense, like they can just, you can feel energies on people just being like, if somebody's anxious, if somebody's, a little unsettled or whatever it is. Do you think that's more of a radar that a narcissist would have and be like, and then kind of play with it and ask certain questions and see what the response is and see how far they can push things to kind of be like, okay, maybe this is a person that I could see being with?
It's a really good question.
That was a loaded one.
That is a really good question. I've had people ask that question in different ways, but not like that. It's a really good question because honestly, like as I'm sitting here, the hard thing is not thinking of it in the moment. The hard thing is actually like verbalizing it and like explaining it.
Okay. Yeah.
Like,
That's what I mean by when people are like, so how do they find me? And they're people aren't, it's not like they're like a robot or something. They're not like taking in data and then flipping it and then looking for like somebody. It would seem more like a reverse intuition, if you would, like an intuition on their part.
So I guess I could see it this way. I could see it as an intuition. I could see some of them that are just going to automatically pick up people just because, their ego's already out there, like they're already like the best of the best, whatever kind of thing.
When you're talking about somebody that they can showcase.
Right. But then like, I'm trying to think of how to break it down and I'm really struggling how to like put it into words, because like for me, I feel like because my mindset is very like analytical. And so like analytical, which like works really great with like work and stuff like that, because I can break down a process, build it back together, and make it faster and more efficient. So like, as I'm like trying to think through this, like I'm like
processes.
Yeah, I'm like thinking through, because like now with being like self-aware, like there's moments where I can walk around and like I can actually like, I guess you could say like, I don't even know how to say it. Like, I guess you could say like think in the narc mindset in a self-aware aspect, where I can like actually walk around and be like that person, nope, not that person. And like, I'm trying to figure out how to actually like verbalize like what it actually is. So like,
so So I mean, I guess with an awareness of it seems like it would happen so fast that it would be an emotional basis. It would be a subconscious thinking, right? Like now you're becoming aware of it. Now you're conscious of it, which is interesting. But
when I'm conscious of it now,
the thing I could use is intuition.
Yeah, when I'm conscious of it now, like intuition is a good word, because when I'm conscious of it now, like trying to actually break it down is like trying to read a logo off a plane speeding by. Like that's like how it like feels in my mind. Like as you ask that question, like that's how it like feels in my mind when I'm trying to actually like zoom, like, okay, like I'm trying to actually like slow it down enough so I can actually tell you like a piece by piece, or just like a fragment of it, to be able to say like, hey, like this is what it is. So like I guess as I'm thinking about it, like a lot of times, all right, so for me, walking into a room, all right, let's just walk in a room and there's 3 girls in the room. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now odds are you're gonna have one that's gonna be like the most popular, the most talkative. Okay. Then you're gonna have like the sidekick. And then you're gonna have sometimes the loner,
Mm-hmm.
And so like your odds are you're either gonna go after the sidekick or you're gonna go after the loner, because one of them is gonna be codependent on the other one, or one is gonna be in the shadows of the main one. But typically I wouldn't go after the first one, but I'd want to leverage myself to be in equal position of that first one, or like at least parallel to, if that makes sense. Because as a covert narc, I'm not going to come in and try to one up everybody. In my mind, I'm already better than everybody.
Yes.
So in my mind, I've already come into the room and I'm assessing it. I'm figuring out, hey, what's going on? And what's it called? What did I call it one time? I called it one time. I think I called it. I had it written down someplace, but I don't know. I had it.
What you're doing right there. That's a great explanation.
Mm-hmm.
That's like if there was somebody in here that had, like, everyone has that question. There isn't somebody in here who hasn't, if they're dealing with this, hasn't asked that question before.
Right.
Okay, why am I a magnet, or how does this work? Right. And that's a very, like, that literally is like. There's this concept of expert intuition, like a great salesman in real estate. He does 150 calls a day. You do them 360 days a year. A sudden, you're gonna have, it's like muscle memory. It's going to be automatic. You're not gonna have to think of the next thing to say, and you can feel. 10% of our communication is verbal. So what's the other 90%? Okay, so you can feel that instantly. So I think your explanation, like, that pretty much nails it on the head.
Yeah.
Of like, okay, what is, and are you saying this would be like an automatic thing? Like you wouldn't think about it in that terms, but that's what your
like me trying to break that down in that moment was, in my mind, surface level, and that was done in like a millisecond of walking into the room.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So that I would put under. I mean, it's confusing to call it intuition because a lot of my work is attaching people back to their intuition and trusting their own intuition. But yours would be an intuition it's essentially an intuition.
Mm-hmm.
What other thing could you put that as? So yeah, that's your subconscious, like, just automatically knowing what to do. And the question is, like, how did you learn that? Like where?
Part of it, I do know part of that. So part of it, I know from growing up, I learned it with becoming very observant about people and just in general. So like my dad was an evangelist. So we actually, 2 weeks after I was born, I was on the road, and I traveled on the road like for first 13 years of my life. So literally we would go to 40 to 45 churches a year. So every week we were moving, going to a different place, interacting with different people. And like I got to the place where I could walk into a church, and I could, without ever knowing anybody or seeing anybody, like I could point out the pastor, the pastor's wife, the pastor's kids. I could tell you which ones are the deacons, like stuff like that. Because after a while you learn the mannerisms, you learn the people, you learn the things, and you go to a different church, you just change the faces. Like that's it. And so
you're doing this with a whole new subset every couple weeks, like like you're seeing whole different communities. So you're beginning to notice that humans have the same tendencies and patterns regardless to where they're at. And
and so then going into going into different aspects, so like transitioning from that, going into different aspects of life, then it starts becoming more broken down of like, how do I manipulate the conversation? How do I manipulate the like okay, a good example of this is in college. So in college, like we had like these like long tables that everybody sat at, you know, where you could fit like, I don't know, it was like 30 people at a table, like super long tables. And so like as we would go through the line, get food, and as we get to the table, like my mind would already like program and figure out like where I need to sit to be the best place of center of attention. You know, I didn't want to sit on the end. You know, I didn't want to sit beside, you know, someone that was, you know, not going to be the cool person or not going to be the person like talking the most. But I wanted to, I guess I want to position myself in a place of power. So like if there's already like 5-6 people sitting down, I would look at it and be like, okay, there's this many seats this way, there's this many seats this way. Like the odds are the people that are coming with us are going to want to sit on this side of the table. Like literally it just like goes through my mind of like, okay, I'm going to sit here. That way I can have one aspect of control of it, because I'm not coming in, I'm not like the grandiose type. So I'm not coming in and being like, oh, I'm the best person ever, I'm going to lead everybody, I'm going to do all this kind of stuff. I'm the person that's going to come in, pull the lever so that they do what I want.
Okay. That's like a whole, like that's pulling back like a whole veil of like, you know, people saying, you know, trying to always figure out, okay, what was said to me and what was, and the words that were used, and how does someone, there's a lot more to, once again, back to that body language, back to positioning, communication that's way different from just talking, right? Like, here's a big question. Do you think that someone in your family was narcissistic?
So from what I've done, like research wise, from what I've like looked at, I think
only what you're comfortable talking about.
Yeah, I think it's okay. My parents haven't found me on here yet. I think
neither of mine.
I think my dad has narcissistic tendencies, or at least some traits, kind of a thing. I don't think he's a full-blown narcissist. I don't think that that's there. I don't think my mom is at all. I think a lot of stuff like growing up was kind of the emotional support, emotional development, and then like as they're growing up in their lives, like they had, you know, society and like how they grew up in different types of Christianity of like you need to.
Yeah, you're in a big religious setting as well, which has a lot of hurdles.
Right, and a lot of it like you need to.
I grew up in Catholicism, so there was like a lot of hurdles of so narcissism and Catholicism, and you drop them both down, and they complement each other very well.
Right.
Because there's a lot of hypocrisy sometimes. I'm not saying all religion is hypocrisy. I'm just saying I experienced some of that.
Yeah.
Became a Christian as I got older, and made my own choices. I didn't know I wasn't making my own choices.
Right. Yeah. No, I appreciate you bringing that up, because there's a whole nother rabbit hole going through as far as like Christian narcissism, Christian abuse, like all that type of stuff.
Yeah, I don't get quite in. I'm still a Christian. I just don't get quite into it, because I think that, I mean, in Catholicism, yeah, if the rules are creating inner conflicts, it could, but really your upbringing will already, in my mind, my school belief is that your upbringing will already set those inner conflicts into action. And maybe religion can compound it a little bit, unless you're dealing with some of my clients in the I forget, the Amish community. That seems to be set up pretty rough for a lot of my clients who are trying to just navigate, you know, divorces and stuff.
Right.
It's not set up for you to do that, not to be allowed to do that.
Yeah, so, that makes sense.
So we won't get too off topic, because I don't really know about all of that, but I do know a lot of my clients. Suffer from those rules and regulations.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Yeah, I definitely think we should talk more. We should talk more on the side, maybe see about doing a live together for a full night or something like that.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
I hope this you know, helped you out. Hope it added value to your audience. Hopefully I asked some questions that, you know, answered for somebody else in the room, you know.
Yeah, I mean, you asked some questions that people haven't asked before, so you know. That's I think there is a part of me that thinks it's fascinating to like you mentioned, to kind of like lower the veil, but like there's also a part, like as we were finishing like talking about it, like me actually like like telling it, like in my mind, I'm like calming myself down at the same time, because like it's stuff that's like, I wouldn't say like just vulnerable, but it's like very, maybe triggering is the right word. I don't know. It's just.
I was about to say you're going to extremely vulnerable space. So I don't know, like, because you have to think, if most of our actions that the humans do, we, 6 basic needs, right? There's the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Love and connection is like number 2 or somewhere on there. And it's a pretty powerful thing that we crave, desire. We think of it from evolution. We needed that to survive in the tribal setting. You leave your tribe, you get shunned. You're not going to last long alone, right? So if you believe that's a strategy or something that has helped you receive that can be that's a pretty terrifying place to go.
Right.
So I would say that's pretty, so yeah, in the future, some other, kudos to you for clarifying that. I don't know, you might be one of the few people who have done that so far.
Well, thanks, man. I appreciate it. So yeah, definitely we can see about revisiting that again sometime.
Yeah, no problem.
All right.
And thanks for having me on. And,
yeah, man.
Much love to all your guests and your clients.
Thanks, man. Good to meet you. Stay in touch, okay?
All right, Ben. Sounds good. Yeah,
thanks.
I'll shoot you a message.
All right, sounds good. See ya. Awesome. All right, that's super cool. Thank you for joining. Appreciate it. That was really cool. I don't know where the question things disappeared to. I don't know. I don't think y'all can see them on your end. They were up for a little bit, but then they kind of disappeared. Whew. That was good. That was good. Thanks. Sorry, I just needed like a minute. But yeah. Anyways. Can a covert narcissist and a grandiose narcissist be together and last in a relationship? I don't really think narcissists can last long-term in a relationship because it goes against their core belief of them being the best person. But yeah. I don't think we see your light energy. I'm not versed in light energy to tell you if that's what I see or not. You have to turn off the link rings to get the question box back. The link rings in the bottom corner. I don't have them on now. Like once he went off, I don't have them on. I think once I turn them on, then we're like stuck or whatever. But anyways, what'd you miss? You'll have to watch the replay. I'll post it on YouTube. Sorry. Do I have a video breakdown of the rage stack? I don't have a video break of the rage stack. I'm also not gonna video it down and like post it as it being like my own content, because the rage stack is through Wake Up Warrior. It is the Warrior stuff, so I wouldn't want to try to sell that as my own stuff because it's not. Anyways, those are some good questions. Can I share something random with you guys? Like random as in like, it was something that I was reading today in the Bible. So if you don't like the Bible, then I'm sorry. But I actually did a stack on this today. I think this is a discovery stack. So, like some people are like, narcissism is in the Bible, blah, blah, blah. If you look up a couple translations, narcissism is in the Bible, but it kind of depends on that. But anyways, I was reading the other day, and I like went back to this because I was like, this is an interesting passage. So Jude, so second to last book of the Bible, is really interesting because when I first read this, I was like, hey, this sounds like narcissism, and like went to it, and I was just like, what in the world? When I first read it, I was like, this is like eye-opening. So bear with me. So Jude, we're talking here. Let me see where I was. So Jude, verse 4, it starts off, for certain people have crept in unnoticed. So the people that were just sneaking in, says like people are sneaking in the side door. So people that were ungodly, that they don't care about God and they don't care about anything like that. And then it goes on to describe them a little bit more. And all right, so in the same way, these dreamers, okay, so it's really interesting here. So who are dreaming that God will not punish them. So people that are literally like, I'm God, I'm in charge of everything, like I'm the one that's in control, like God isn't over me, anything like this. So like they're dreamers of viewing that God won't ever punish them, who also defile the body and reject legitimate authority. Like a lot of narcs are rebels, like they don't want to listen to any authority and anything like that, and revile and mock like other things. All right, and then these men, they sneer anything that they don't understand. I was like, whoa, that's like just like narcissism. Because to me, like growing up and then like getting in marriage and everything like that, to me it was like if I haven't experienced it, it doesn't exist. Like my wife's anxiety, I was like, that doesn't exist. Like you just need to be more confident. Like in a narc's mind, a lot of times things don't exist. And whatever they do by mere instinct. If you're watching a couple minutes ago, you know exactly what we were talking about, like mere instinct, like me trying to break down like the instinct of what like I go through my head. Like unreasoning and irrational beasts, by these things are destroyed. So like irrational as far as like everything goes on. So this was kind of cool. Like verse 12, these men, so I'm equating this, I'm saying like, hey, this is a narcissist. Okay, these men are hidden reefs. Okay, and it says here, elements of great danger to others. Like, does that not sound like a narcissist? Like, narcissist is a great reef. It's something that like might look cool, but then a ship comes up on it, runs it aground, destroys the ship. Like they shipwreck people, they destroy people. They're like hidden reefs, elements of great danger to others. It says in your love feast, when they feast together with you without fear. Now this is like really interesting because like without fear. Oh, sorry, this is amplified Bible. So they said like without fear. So when I was thinking of that, I was like, okay, like with narcissism, like without fear. I don't know what's going on. That one's like freaking out. It's like without fear, like that makes like so much sense because a lot of narcissism like is not even like built on fear. It's not even built on like anything that's going on. Like they don't have fear. They'll look in the eyes. They'll be like, I'm cheating on you. I'm leaving you, like whatever it is. And they won't care. You know, they won't care at all. So as a result, they don't have fear about what's happening. They don't have fear about what's going on. They're living in the moment. They're not really caring about the future, about anyone else in their lives and stuff like that. And so they don't have that fear. And then it says looking after only themselves. Narcissism. Okay, like I only care about myself. I only focus on myself. I don't care about any other people. Things like that. Instagram's freaking out, but I don't know what's going on with it. Sorry, guys. So looking out only for themselves. Says they're like clouds without water. So like clouds that nothing's actually coming out of them. Like you're not benefiting from it. Swept along by the winds. Autumn trees without fruit, which are doubly dead, uprooted, and lifeless. Like how does that like not sound like narcissism? Like, hey, like there's these people that are completely dead inside. Like they're not bringing any sustenance to anything else. They're not bringing any like life to anything that's going on. And they're actually doubly dead. This was really interesting. Verse 13, wild waves of the sea. So like wrecking havoc on people's lives, on everything around them. Wild waves of the sea. And then it says here, flinging up their own shame like foam. I was like, what? I was like, you're bringing shame into this? This is crazy. All right, Instagram's just done because it's not working. So sorry. Wild waves of the sea, flinging up their own shame like foam. And I was like, that is so crazy because like my shame a lot of times is going to push me to be more narcissistic. It's going to push me to have more rage. It's going to push me to have more control. It's going to push me to do whatever I have to do to be able to get away from it. So I'm going to come at people. I'm going to rage at them. I'm going to, throw the waves of the sea, like throw the waves of life on everybody else to knock them off balance, to get them confused, and to just, get them off kilter. Wandering stars from which the gloom of deep darkness has been reserved forever. Like, whoa. Like, it's kind of crazy. And then last off verse 16 in Jude, it says, these people are habitual murmurers. Sounds like a narcissist. Griping and complaining, following after their own desires, controlled by their passions. So like whatever they want, like they go for it. Like that's a narcissist. Like whatever I want, I'm going to go for it. They speak arrogantly, pretending admiration and flattering people to gain an advantage. There's there's manipulation, gaslighting, everything right there. Like seriously, like when I read this, I was just like, holy cow. Like I need to like take this and all the people or all like the Christians out there are like, hey, like narcissism isn't a real thing, and be like, okay, let's talk about it, because if it's not a real diagnosed thing in the Bible, then it's something that we can walk through, and I can show you exactly how it is in my life and exactly how it reads here and exactly how it destroys everybody's life. Anyways, that's my random share for the night. What chapter of Jude? That's funny. There is no chapter. It's just Jude. Go look it up. Jude is 1 through 25 verses. That's it. But anyways, that's my random share for the night. It's something I was thinking about. A couple things I was thinking about, but that was one thing I wanted to share. But anyways, it's been a night. It's been good. I don't know how many people have actually been on here, because honestly, my counter up top froze at 99 and it stayed there the whole night. And I doubt we've had 99 people on TikTok the entire time. Like, it hasn't fluctuated up or down. It's just stayed at 99. So I don't know how many people have actually been on here. Okay, here's my plug real quick, because I haven't even like said anything about it. If you're interested in talking at all, anytime, I do one-on-ones. So we do have a lot of times I talk with people. I literally talk with people like every day. I either talk with people who are narcissists, who are like, hey, I might be a narcissist, or I mainly talk with people who have been in a narcissistic abusive relationship. And I'm like, hey, like, let's talk. Let's work through your trauma bond. Let's work through the stuff that you're thinking. Let's work for the hope that you're holding on to. And yeah, so we do that. Anyway, so I have one-on-ones. They're on the website. You can go on there. So rawmotivations.com, one-on-ones. That's where you can click. The website has some cool stuff. You can get the links to the YouTube videos. You can get links to different social media that's on there. Got several of the YouTube videos up there, so you can go back and you can take a look at them. You can watch some of the popular ones that are on there, or just some of the ones that are updating. Also, you can go on, you can listen to the podcast off the website, or you can just link over to Spotify or Apple Podcast. The last podcast one didn't sound so great. I was trying a different microphone and it just didn't work out that well. So just ignore that, but listen to the rest of them. There's stuff on the podcast that you can only get on the podcast. So I do put like the YouTube videos up on the podcast stuff, but also there's some stuff on there. If you go inspire/motivate, those are like the episodes that are not even necessarily narcissistic. They're more like positive, like trying just to challenge people to, you know, open up like their capacity, their aspect of life, grow, change, all that kind of stuff. Oh, and then on the website as well, there's a tab on the website that's called the Narc app. So that's a new thing that's coming out. I'm really excited about it. I'm like been nervous about it because I've been like in production working on it for a while, but the Narc app is actually coming out. So it's Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Community that's coming out. And what that's doing is that's a way for people who have been a narcissistic and abusive relationship that they can actually get other community, find other people that are dealing with the same stuff, and also have resources to be able to learn about narcissism, to be able to learn how to handle their lives, to be able to learn how to handle getting closure, different things like that. And it's in kind of like a class format, which is kind of cool. So you can like go in, complete a section, come back another day, complete another section. But anyways, that's on the website. The app isn't actually up completely yet. We're still waiting on the approval process, but the web version is. You can go on there and you can look on that as well. Yeah, that's all like the random stuff. But anyways, check out the website, rawmotivations.com. If you're interested in talking, if you want to look at the podcasts, YouTube videos, or the app. Anyways, I got a couple people that signed up on the app just this other week, so it's pretty cool. I was excited about that. So I was excited about that because when I first like got the idea of the app, I was like, this is a crazy idea. Like I think this might be a little bit far out there. And then I talked to a couple of the creators, and they were like, jump on the idea of doing an app before someone else does who doesn't have your intentions of like helping other people like heal and grow. And I was like, okay. And it was like a big leap because I was like, it was a big leap for my wife and I, because I was like, I don't know if I should do it. She's like, I don't know if you should do it. And then I just did it. And she was like, holy crap. You know, it was like $1,000 like starting off, but I don't know. I feel like it was the right thing to do. So we're there. Anyways, what questions we got? Let's jump back into those. I got at least another like 30 minutes, 45 minutes. don't know when the app's going to come out. I'm waiting for Apple and Google Play to hurry up and approve it. But you can go to the website and you can access the web version. The web version works just the same as the actual app, but still waiting on the app to get approved. Once it gets approved, I'll make like posts and let everybody know. How to co-parent with a narcissist. It's more like you're the only parent because they're not really going to parent. Really, the biggest thing is making sure you limit contact as best you can so that you're not getting triggered constantly. Yes, parallel parenting. So you're not getting triggered constantly. So keeping it to we're only communicating through email. We're only communicating through a third party. We're working on, just making sure that there's no other ways to be able to trigger you, because otherwise they'll come after you. They'll work on, triggering you every single time. And then for your kids, it's really important to try to be there for them emotionally, because they're not going to get that from the other side. They're not going to get that from the narcissist. They're not going to get that from that other side of the relationship. So like working with them so they understand like, hey, I have a safe place that I can come to. Like this parent is a safe place so I can come to them no matter what, and be able to work through whatever issues. And I'm not going to get shunned. I'm not going to get shamed through anything like that. That was like a random, like small tidbit, but yeah. Just left my narcissistic ex-fiance 3.5 weeks ago. That's rough, and I'm sorry, but I'm glad you left before they became husband or wife. Because that's when it's hard, when you're like locked in more, in one sense. When does the hoovering stop? Hoovering stops when you make it stop. The hoovering stops when you cut off all forms of communication, and there's no way for them to hoover. Otherwise, they will continue to hoover. They will continue trying coming back. They will continue coming after you. And even after you cut off all forms of communication, they might still be obsessed. Then you're going into legal ways to try to get a protective order, etc. And people do that, and they have to document a lot of stuff. February 5th is like a group session of us walking through like how to break the trauma bond and like walking through people in like a group setting. I think it's open to like 10 people. I think there's like 3 spots left or something like that. Can you ask a question that hasn't been answered? Well, yeah, I answered that question. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, ask a question. I'm trying to catch up. So, what we got? How will narcissists feel after I dismiss the restraining order? Depending on the relationship, they might come back even more. You got to be careful of that. I was talking to someone on a one-on-one the other day where their restraining order protection was getting ready to expire. And they were trying to figure out, do I wait for them to come back and like mess it up because they're going to run back into my life? Or do I like go ahead and file for the restraining order again so I can get it extended so I make sure I can keep them away? After we talked about it, I think they decided to go ahead and file for it now, have the sheriff of it and everything like that, because it wasn't a safe environment. Do narcs stalk? Hell yeah. They stalk, they obsess, they try to follow. Like, yeah, they stalk 100%. What happens if you cheat on narcissists? A lot of times they think it's the worst betrayal in the entire universe because they can't believe that you would ever do something like that. Should I get protection order? I don't know. That's up to you. Kind of depends on the situation and what's going on. Yes, it's just a piece of paper, and if they want to break it, they will. But then that piece of paper can help throw them in jail and get them away from you permanently. Do narcs have that one person they will always love? No, typically not, because they're not finding someone for love. Have you talked about covert narcs a lot? I just talk about covert narcs. So yeah. Is my wife still trauma bonded? I don't think she's trauma bonded to the point that she's stuck here and she can't leave. She's taken back a lot of her power, and she's also left for a period of time. The only reason she came back was because I started changing, like not just making changes, but changing and growing. Yeah, a lot of times the narcissist will not get involved in the divorce process, just because like they don't want to show their face to it. Like they don't want to, look that bad to other people. Like they want to keep their face and how they are. What do narcs think about ex-wives? That they've been abused by them. Narcs will make themselves out to be the victim. So if you walk in and someone's like, oh yeah, my past relationship, they were all crazy. Red flag, that's just them changing the story frame. Or keeps messaging my best friends to hurt me, or because he thinks he's God's gift to women. He thinks he's God's gift to women, and he's probably also trying to Hoover get back to you as well, or just like mess with you. As a narcissist, do you actually feel genuine feeling that you're helping empaths? Well, I mean, a narcissist has feeling, like they have emotions. It's more or less they struggle with the idea of empathy. So like I do have feelings, and it is like I think it's encouraging for me to be able to see people like grow or change, or actually see like the light bulb click on when they start to realize like the truth of their situation, or the truth of them like getting free. Would you tend to think that the rules don't apply to us? Us as being narcissists, then yes, the rules don't apply to narcissists. That's why they go and break them all. I'm going to put my narc on child support. Any advice? If you're going to put them on child support, just document everything and prepare to follow up with legal stuff, because they probably won't pay. If they like hurting you, then it's more like a sociopath. I'm not saying no narcissists like hurting, because like they do. But I'm saying like the majority of like liking hurting someone is more on the sociopathic side versus the narcissistic side. Yeah, thank you, Taryn. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's awesome when someone like gets the light bulb, or like when they're able to like work through and like figure out different things. And like my goal, like with working with people and coaching, like I guess I wish like Heather, or maybe if anybody's in the chat that I've coached before or anything like that, like my goal with like coaching someone is not to give you the answers, and is not to tell you this stuff. I can come to you and I can say, hey, you need to leave, you need to run, like all this kind of stuff. And that's not going to help anything. Like what my goal is, and I think is like really helpful a lot of times, is coming alongside you and having you work through the problem, having you work through it like as a guide in one sense, because my goal is for you to get to the place where you realize like you can take back your power. My goal is for you to get to the place where you understand like, hey, like I've been stuck with lies. I've been stuck with everything that's going on. And yeah. So just, that's kind of like my goal, like working with people, is like walking them through the journey so that they get to the light bulb moment like on themselves. Like, I guess for me, I'm not trying to go through and like switch everybody's light on. I'm trying to like walk you through how to reconnect the power and then turn the light on yourself. There's my light bulb example. Why did he want to apologize to me and we're moving out? A lot of times they try at the last second. That way they can say like, oh, like I actually tried, or I actually worked on it. Committed to making your wife happy, meaning striving to be kind, considerate, not selfish, respectful, not shouting, and above all, not throwing breadcrumbs. Yes, that is the commitment. That is the commitment with honesty as well, like working through all this crap on a day-to-day basis. Would you let me join? Yeah, reach out to me sometime. Just message me. Did you ever have rage moments? Hell yeah. No, I had lots of rage moments. I had lots of moments where, I'd get so mad, I'd punch things, I'd throw things, stuff like that. Like yes, like someone's like, oh, like you seem so nice. Like, okay, like that's like a narcissist for a lot of people seems cool. Like a narcissist for a lot of people seems like an awesome person, seems like a cool person, which only makes the narcissist think like they are more cool. But like a lot of it is just because of like a persona that people put out there, and like they go through like the love bombing stage, the gaslighting phase, like with everybody in one sense. And so people think like, oh, it's the perfect partner, it's the perfect husband, perfect wife kind of thing, because of how they appear to a lot of people. But in reality, like it's how they treat people behind the scenes. It's how they treat people on like a day-to-day basis. That's why it's kind of cool. It was kind of cool like a while back whenever Kayla went on here and she went live with me for a period of time, just so like people could actually like see her and actually like communicate with her and have her like answer questions. I thought that was kind of cool. Typically not as much rage with the affair partners. No. Why would I still go back to my wife? For me, like I never like completely left. I mean, I left as far as like cheating wise. But there was also aspects that I was like still here. It was more or less like I had to work on everything else that was going on to get through like the cheating, the affairs, and like not go back to that life and not go back to that broken cycle every single time. Why did my ex always run back to the same woman, especially when she knows he talks bad about her? Because she's probably got a trauma bond and she's left the door open. What are the main tendencies of narcissists? A lot of them. Main thing is like control. How do they manage so many relationships at a time? Disconnecting. So making sure that you keep everything in a separate box. If you keep everything in a separate box, it makes it easier to be able to keep each story straight. And now, as I was talking to someone, I think it was today, they were asking about like the lies and stuff like that. And I was like, if you keep everything in a separate box, and if you keep everything separate and you view each reality as being its own separate reality, then really in the narcissist mind, you get to the place where you start gaslighting and believing yourself that you're not lying. You're just coming to a point, you're switching it in your mind. You're like, okay, now I'm over here. Now in this scenario, I'm not lying. Then you come back over here to the other person, like supply one, supply two, come back over the next person. You're like, okay, this is my reality here. Now I'm not lying to this person. And you like literally like switch back and forth. Like that disconnect is like crazy, but like you get to the place where you start feeling like justified in everything you do and say. Hope that makes sense. But yeah, those are good questions. With you being a narc, is your wife the number one love? I would say over the majority of the years, I've been the number one love, and so I'm having to relearn what love actually is. My ex is in therapy. Is there a chance he could choose me one day if he gets more empathy? You're relying a lot on hope in that statement. I'll be really careful about that. Your goal is your growth, because otherwise you will hold on to that hope and that will mess you up more than you will ever imagine. And you will hold on to that hope thinking that there might be a possibility that one day it will happen. And as a result, it'll sidetrack you. It'll keep you from your goals, from your dreams. And they'll still have a hold on you even if they're not in your life. Be careful of that. If you're with a narcissist, don't go to therapy together. I've told it like a bunch of times, but I'll say it again. If you are with a person that is a narcissist and they bring up going to therapy, or you've convinced them to go to couples therapy or things like that, don't. It's not going to help. It's not going to help. Therapy is a great place. Good. I'll talk to you Sunday. Therapy is a great place for a narcissist to control and to manipulate you, either in the moment, making you feel like an idiot in front of the therapist, or getting to the place where they leave the therapy room and they take what the therapist says and they say, hey, you're the reason they made me do this because of what they said. Had our first therapy session and my husband was the only one talking or talked to. A lot of times they'll try to control the narrative, for sure. Narcissist wants to control the narrative. Does a narc know they are a narc? For them, a lot of times they think it's normal behavior, and even if they got to a place they knew that they're a narc, they wouldn't necessarily know how to get out of it because they'd have to be honest. They don't want to be honest. You told your marriage counselor you were a narcissist. Moving on to this question. Yeah, I remember like one of the therapists that I was with, I told her like, hey, this is what I'm thinking about. This is what it looks like. And like we sat down, we read the DSM-5, and I was like, yeah, actually I identify with like all that. And then like she came back like 2 sessions after, and she gaslit me that we'd actually read through ADHD and not the DSM-5 for narcissism. And I was like, no, like I had it on my screen, like I know what I was looking at, and was trying to convince me that I had ADHD. And I was like, okay. And I was like, got off that, and I was like, bye, you're fired. Next. Do you think my therapist will recognize it on her second session? If they haven't recognized on their first, then they're probably not equipped to recognize it, and you probably need to leave. So I'm not saying that all therapists should be able to identify in the first section, but if you're not going to a therapist that is versed in trauma abuse, emotional abuse, or narcissism, they're probably not going to see it. I don't know what it is. Maybe Lee would have an idea of like what it is, but yeah, but there's like tiny crossovers. So that's why sometimes people get confused with it. Yeah, find a therapist who specializes in it. Yeah, I don't know if Lee would have any advice as far as like how to spot them. You know, obviously, like we've said, like, you know, listen to them talk long enough and you realize what it is. But yeah, for me, like when I'm talking to people, like it's, I don't know, Lee would probably be able to tell you as well. But like for me, when I'm talking to people, like it's pretty almost like instantaneous. Like you like pull it up, you start talking to them one-on-one, and you're just like, okay, yeah, I know where this is going. That kind of thing. Normally you can pick up on it pretty fast. Recognizable quality, that's a tough one. It's really hard to be able to pick up exactly what the most recognizable quality of like me identifying a narc. For me, a lot of times it's like the fakeness, like sensing it like really quickly. Like I got on a one-on-one one time and it was a husband and the wife, and I was like, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you guys want to fix the marriage? And he was like 10, definitely. Like I want to fix it. Like that's why we're on this call so I can learn about narcissism and things like that. And she was like 6. Like I don't know if I want this because of X, Y, and Z. And like they started talking, and like less than 5 minutes, I was just like, holy crap, this guy is full of shit. Because like it was like he was like flaming narcissist and like right in front of me, like he's trying to gaslight his wife and like all this kind of stuff. Like it's sometimes when I talk to people, it's just like bam, like in your face. I was like, yep, narcissist. Do narcissists tend to flock together? A lot of times, no. Hey, that's hilarious. Lee said I was at a 10, my wife was at a 3. Yeah, like that's funny. Yeah, I don't think narcs tend to flock together. Like there's too much ego in the room, you know. Yeah, I called him out. It was the most I've ever cussed in a one-on-one. I don't really cuss a whole lot, but like whenever they finished talking for a moment, I looked at the guy and I was like, you talk a good game, but I can't tell how full of shit you are. Like he was pissing me off. I think the thing is he was pissing me off because I was seeing me and him, and I was like, yeah, as I'm learning, as I'm being more self-aware, this is actually pretty disgusting. It's just pissing me off. It's pissing me off because he was doing it in front of me. Yeah, egos flock together in the military, so I can see that. Thought I may be borderline, asked the therapist, and he showed me his notes. I have this question as well. What's your question? I didn't see it. What happens when you actually both are? When you're both narcissists, like it's typically not going to end out so well. I'm not sure. I mean, maybe people can answer on here, but I'm not sure why. There is a lot of questions sometimes of people asking, like, can a narcissist be with a narcissist? Like, maybe that's just like wondering, like, if they're going to get karma or if they're going to get like what they deserve by being with another narcissist. But at the end of the day, like, unless you're the narcissist who's with another narcissist, like, I don't know. My first thought is like, why do you care? But like, I'm a narcissist, so like, I automatically don't feel like that empathy side of like, oh, I want to know. Like to me, I'm like, you know. Can you tell when a narc will be violent when leaving? No, I mean it'd be based on what they've previously done, what they've previously interacted with you. Like if they've been violent in the past, then they're probably going to be violent in the future. Went to counseling prior to marriage, and he charmed a counselor. Wish I got out then. Yeah. What does he think about when I start crying and he's just staring at me? 1, he doesn't know what to do, and then 2, he's probably pissed off. He doesn't know how to make you stop. Is no contact the only way to deal with a narc, especially a parent? I think no contact is the best way to deal with it if there's no aspect of change. You just realize you unblock. Quick, go in and block right now. Block him back. If he unblocked you, that means we're getting ready to hoover, or we're getting ready to have a reverse hoover coming out. Do narcs care about their family? Narcs care about themselves, period. So hard because they act so concerned and seem to show intense sadness at times. That intense sadness a lot of times is victimization or is a way to be able to get you to care and fill their void. How do they avoid child support? Good job. Thank you for blocking. I don't even know how legally they avoid it, because I know some places they can just like take it out of their paycheck and all. Why do substances make a narc bad? Substances don't make a narc bad. A narc is mad, and substances are just the result from it, or a sedation, or whatever else you want to call it. Substances aren't the cause. How do you prepare for his comeback? The manipulation is so strong. You block it so there's no way for him to come back. It won't change. Blames for everything. 47 too late. Yes, absolutely. It doesn't change. I can only handle my narc when he's so green. Yeah, I mean, a lot of times it's like, oh, like they're actually like calm now. But a lot of times their substance abuse makes it even worse. No contact for 2 months, and he literally just texted me this new number during this live. That is crazy. Like I was on a one-on-one one time, and Angela, thanks for being awesome. I was on a one-on-one one time, and like as I'm on the one-on-one, the narc texts the person. I don't know if she's on here. If you are, like, just say hello. But I was on the one-on-one, and the narc texted the person. I was like, read me the text, and like we read through it, and I was like, wow, that's a bunch of BS, and like literally like broke it down like line by line for her to be able to say like, this is what he's thinking, this is what he's saying, and like, you know, at first she was like reading it, and was like, you really think so? Like, you really think that's what it is? And I was like, yes. I was like, literally, like he started off with like the text, or it was a text or an email that we got like in the middle of the one-on-one, and it was like, I don't know if something's wrong with your phone or if you've like blocked me. And like, he's been blocked for like 2 months or something like that. And I was like, dude, he knows. Like, he 100% knows. And he's doing that because he's trying to build like some empathy from you. Like, I don't know. It was kind of cool. There's another. It was kind of cool just like being able to see and like break it down for another person of saying like, hey, this is what the person is actually trying to say. They're trying to manipulate who really gets you back, like all this kind of stuff. And she was just like, whoa, like that's crazy. But yeah, it was kind of cool. Mine said he had to call me from another phone. Yeah, I mean, they'll make up excuses. My phone died, my phone, like anything. It's crazy. Why love bomb and leave again? So they can see that they could. So they can control. So they could get you on tap. So they get supplies. So they get something from you. Like, it doesn't have to be anything in particular. There's 3 to 4 month cycle, and then the hoovering begins relentless. Yeah, a lot of them have cycles. Like, I've talked to people where they had like exact cycles. Like, it was like crazy, but exact cycles. Testify in front of mine, in front of jury. Stay gray rock. Don't let them get under your skin. If there's any like accusations, you can come on. You can be like, hey, you know that's not true, but stay super, super, super calm. Let the narcissist make a fool of themselves, because they do that more in a courtroom when they can't control you. Angela, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I hope you're doing well as well. Thank you for the feedback also on just stuff with the trauma bond workshop and things like that, because coming up, we've got the one coming up this coming month or whatever. Angela, actually hit me up if you want to pop in sometime. Just, you know, send me an email or shoot me a text. My therapist says when they dispose her, they will catch her lie after lie. They depose her, they will catch her lie after. Oh, yeah. Do they struggle with intimacy, like affection? Yeah, unless they're getting it from someone else. I mean, a lot of times they struggle with intimacy with one person because they're getting it from somebody else. How to deal with a narc during a custody battle? I wish I had more depth on that to give you more information. But like making sure you track like literally everything, like track everything, write everything down. Like, I cannot stress how much, if you're trying to get out of a narcissist relationship and you have to do you have to do a custody battle, like literally make sure you keep track of everything. They need to be able to see that. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much. Narcs lie. Yeah, narcs lie. How can we tell if we ourselves are narcissists? Look at the DSM-5, take a couple of tests. Typically, if you're asking it, you're not. But I understand there's some people that have watched stuff and you're like, hey, I might have these tendencies. Where they try to bait you to cheat so they can be a victim. Yeah, 100%. 100%. They'll try to bait you. There was someone I was talking through. There's someone I was talking to the other day that the narcissist actually set up stuff behind the scenes to get the other person implicated in a DUI. Like literally, like they went through the effort to be able to manipulate other people into getting that person drunk and on the way home, and they got pulled over, and like they literally facilitated the whole thing, trying to make it so they'd get a DUI. It's crazy. Yeah, thanks so much for coming on. I appreciate it. What is the dividing line? What is the dividing line between narc tendencies and being a narcissist? I think a lot of times it's how much consistency they have in those narc tendencies, as far as like, are they consistently hitting 5 out of the 9 on the DSM-5, or is it just kind of like every once in a while, or like, I feel like I'm not answering that very well. YouTube's going back to spammers. So I haven't done live in a while, because they like to come on and say the exact same stuff that I'm talking about, or that I've confessed. 2.5 months, no contact. Woo! That's awesome. Keep those doors locked shut. Make sure there's no way for them to come back. How intentional is the bad stuff you do? There's a lot of it that's an aspect of it not being intentional, but being reactive, of it being a defense mechanism, like different things like that. But yeah, you have a lot more of the sociopath stuff that is more intentional, for sure. No, I'm in Virginia. NPD and histrionic. I don't have a ton of info about histrionic. Histrionic is more of sexual in nature. Typically manifests more in women. Yeah. I try not to get into histrionic and BPD so I don't get like slaughtered on TikTok. They'll hoover after 3 years, no contact. Yeah, I mean, they'll hoover anytime. It's kind of crazy. Is it worth to tell the narc that you understand that they are feeling shame and whatnot when they're starting to rage, or will that trigger them more? That's a really good question. Good question. I would say typically it's probably going to trigger them more. A 1 chance out of 1,000 that it might actually like change it a little bit. But a lot of times, like, that shame is doing a lot of that rage. So as a result, like, it's just going to keep that cycle going even more. What does it mean when someone is a moderator on here? It just means that they're on here. A lot of times they're helping like answer questions, like when I don't get to it, or they're trying to help out if someone's like spamming or stuff like that. Angela's like my #1 moderator on YouTube, and she's like kicking a bunch of people out tonight, right now. And then I don't know, I got a bunch on here. 2.5 months, no contact. That's awesome. Glad we've been able to help. Professor Daly, how much he loves me, but can never show it. Yeah, it doesn't show it. No, what? Is no filter common in narcissism, or could Asperger's? Asperger's definitely would be more than no filter, but it could be narcissism. I think one thing that was amazing in therapy was like realizing emotions aren't bad. Like, I was always like wanting to suppress them and hide them. Unless moderators are here to protect. Oh, thanks. How should I deal with? How should I deal with my covert narcs X negativity to me? We have kids and I still care. Yeah, a lot of it is like you have to get to the place where you understand, and you, I wouldn't say like don't care, but you have to work on viewing the facts of like understanding like how you need to go, how you need to grow. Chrissy, she could probably use some help over there. Like literally, like right, we must have hit like troll time on because they're actually kind of blowing it up right now. She's doing amazing, but yeah. Do you find they show more love when intoxicated? No, I find that they like actually tend to be slightly honest when intoxicated, from what I've heard, from what I've seen. Wow, y'all asking like so many questions fast. Would a narc avoid even general situations that cause bad feelings? Yes. Is it painful and lonely being a narcissist? Yes. I don't understand people if they don't like the content, move on. Yes. Good question. Yes. Awesome. Chrissy, thanks. Yeah, once I see a comment, I'll like make you a mod. That way at least it's set up for a long term. I mean, I'm not gonna be on like super much longer, but that definitely would help a lot if we get more mods on YouTube. I just haven't done YouTube in a while because of the trolls. Then I come on like first night in a while and I'm like, yay, Troll City. For everybody who's on YouTube right now and is not a troll, thank you for being supportive of content and just like supportive of my growth and my change and trying to be on here watching videos of like what's actually going on, how I'm trying to work on it, how I'm trying to answer questions. But yeah, thank you. I appreciate it, Robert. But oh, I'm sorry. The trolls on YouTube, like I struggle. I struggle to not go all narc mode on the trolls on YouTube. Like they piss me off because they're just stupid. They're just like, I'm like, hey, I've cheated on my wife and like I'm not proud of it. It's not something I'm recommending for anyone. Like it's bad. And they're like, oh, you're a cheater. And I'm like, no shit. I just said that. Like, all right, Christine, you should be good now. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. It's not a game. There's no room for trolls. Yes. Yeah, if there's ever, while I have so many people on here, if there's ever people that want to help be moderators for YouTube, I'll start going live more on YouTube and TikTok, just because I'm trying to grow the YouTube. Oh, there's another one. Rot in what? In hell. Yes, we'll all rot in hell if we don't face God and actually have repentance and honesty. And most narcs won't be honest, and so they will rot in hell. Thank you for that comment. All right. Yes, narcs get very jealous. Like, difference between narcissist and dismissive avoidance. I do not have enough information to give you a good answer on that. I'm sorry. Cool. I don't know. TikTok actually has it so there's like so many. I don't know how to fix it. Sorry. Oh, there you go. TikTok actually has it where I can have so much. My eyes are struggling some. You can kind of see it's like red over here. Like my contact broke earlier, and we're kind of like struggling. Yeah. Oh my gosh. But yeah, thank you for asking. Appreciate it. Just stick with. What did you say? Just stick with TikTok. I don't know. I like saw it and then it like popped up. Do narcissists repress their own feelings? Yes. Yeah, I know. I should stick with TikTok. Y'all are like so supportive, but I am trying to grow the YouTube platform. I'm trying to grow it because there's a chance to having longer videos on there, things like that. I mean, that is one of the criteria, one of the boundaries that my wife has. Like, if I'm not honest, if I'm not consistently changing, if I cheat on her, like she's out. So like that's definitely like part of it too. But yeah, like trust but verify. Ex grew up going to therapy a lot, would blame his trauma for bad behavior, wouldn't change. Yeah, no, definitely. Harvard just released a study saying narcissists are trolls. LOL. That's hilarious. They're controls. Like all they want to do is be in control of everything. Mine texts, and as soon as I call him out on his behavior, the text combo stops. Is this a Hoover? No, I mean, if I just said something accountable and they're gonna like disappear up their game. How's a narcissist have a? Ooh, good. How's a narcissist have a relationship with God? So a narcissist that is not willing to be honest or truthful about who they are does not have a relationship with God because they are their own God of the universe. So like before, with everything that happened in my life, with everything happened, like with narcissism, like me cheating on my wife, all those kind of things, like I identified at that time as a Christian. Like looking back on that, do I think I actually was a Christian? No, I don't. Because I don't think a Christian can be involved in that type of abuse and that kind of repetitive behavior and still identify as a Christian. If they've actually have been impacted by the God of the universe, then they shouldn't be still living like a person from hell. Do all narcs cheat? I would say yes. Some people don't like that answer. Most narcissists don't like that answer. But yeah, I would say they all cheat in some form or another. They're going to find something that is a higher priority than you every single time. Our lives available on TikTok. Yeah, TikTok, you can join a live if you have over 1,000 followers. Yeah, I think it's 1,000. Yeah. Hey, Jen, good to see you. Made you decide to finally change? Your lies being found out, or wife leaving? Neither. So I confessed it, and then my wife also left. So it was neither that. Part of it was getting tired that the cycle wasn't giving me what I wanted. The cycle wasn't. I was just continuing and like stuck in that. Yeah, the YouTube I'll put up, and then TikTok, as long as it downloads, I'll put up the replay from TikTok. What if my narc never physically cheated that you know of? It's a major indication of cheating, them accusing you and you've never cheated. I mean, that's a typical one. That's one that people like to toss around. They like to project that on you. Are male narcs more likely to change than female narcs? I don't know. I didn't. I guess I could say I sort of saw this cycle before therapy, but like early on, it felt like I was like cursed. It felt like I was like stuck in this loop, and I didn't know how to get out of it. How would I know if he is cheating? Can't find any proof. Stuff for a gut feeling. I hate to say it like this, but if you, as a woman with your intuition, if you have a gut feeling that he's cheating, he probably is cheating. There you go. Go with your gut feeling. But like, I could tell you, like my wife would say, like she wished that she would have gone with her gut feeling every time, because every time she had that gut feeling, she was right. Yeah. I don't know if you can on I can report or remove or put them in timeout. Hide user on this. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. Lee, are you still on TikTok or no? I know he was like playing a game, but I don't know if he was still on here or not. The gut is connected to the brain. Trust the gut. Absolutely. Has therapy been helpful for you? Yes, definitely. 100%. Sorry, I might have like unhit something on YouTube. I don't know what I'm doing on there. How about a narc relationship with kids? Where'd it go? Like nephews or friends' kids. Typically, like those are going to be fine because they want to keep, like, they want to save face. They want to look good in front of other people. Have you forgiven yourself? That is a good question. Does your wife go to therapy? Yes, my wife does go to therapy as well. Do you have limerence? What? Do you have limerence with anyone you cheated with? Limerence. I don't know what that is. Are we just supply? Are you just supply? No, not necessarily. My supply would be more along the lines of like a closer, like intimate aspect. So there's people that talk about good and bad supply. If anything, some of this would be good supply in the aspect of like helping see other people like grow and change. But no, it's not like I get, I don't know how the right way to say it. It's not like I get off like being on lines or talking to everybody on here. I'm just excited when we're able to see like the light bulb moments go on. We're able to like work through stuff. What is, okay. I've never even heard of this word. Okay, I can't even spell it, but I'll see what it pops up with. Interesting. I don't know what the original question is. I just looked up the word, but like I don't know what the original question is. State of infatuation or obsession with another person that involves an all-consuming passion and intrusive thoughts. Interesting. Interesting. I need to like, I got the link up. Limerence versus love. What's the difference? I got the link up, so I'll look to see what it is. Yeah, I don't know. I need to ask Lee because he's more of the YouTube pro of like if you can actually block on YouTube. I don't know. My narc asked me if I thought he was a narc. I said yes. He's going to therapy soon. Is it real? I don't know. What you're going to see with if it's going to be real or not is going to be, is he having honest vulnerability and is he having consistent change? My ex was obsessed with trying to get me to respond to his messages. After he baited me to cheat, I caught him. He lied. I filed for divorce. We tried to come back. Probably. I'll just lock all the doors. Be careful so he can't. Make sure there's no way. Do I dissociate often? Yes, I did 100% when I was cheating, when I was going through all that. Right now, like the end aspect of like dissociation or disconnecting is more or less like what's real, what's not, and especially like in my past. So like we dealt with that a couple weeks ago. I think I talked about in one of my lives a couple weeks ago about like the therapy session I had of like looking back at my past, and that was like crazy. But yeah, no, good question. Narc is actually one filing for divorce. He doesn't happen anymore. Wow. No, oftentimes they won't even do that. So that's interesting. Obsessively think about the supply. Not anymore. Not all of them. Is there a way to help a narc become self-aware? There's not necessarily a consistent way, so I don't really have a good answer for that. Like so far, out of all the narcs that have contacted me and actually set up a one-on-one, we've actually like talked. Probably at least like half of them have been like, my ex sent me a video, and I'm like, okay, and it's always like interesting. But yeah, when my ex called out on stuff, he couldn't argue. He would sulk and make himself smaller. Probably like victim concept. He wants you to come after him. Do narcs typically have strange power fetishes? I don't know if they have strange power fetishes, but they do have like the grandiose sense of like being better than everyone else, being powerful, being the best, etc. So even though he's with the new supply, downgrade supply, he's still actively looking for supply. Yeah, you can never have enough supply. And especially if you can have supply on top of supply or supply at the same time or supplies together. There's between a narc and sociopath, not just a lack of empathy, but getting to the place where they actually enjoy the pain that you have. My ex did not believe in God. Yeah, because you can't believe in God and justify what you do as a narcissist in your mind and in your head. EMDR helps some, and then just talk therapy. Oh, the real Cynthia's back on YouTube. Haven't seen that wonderful person in a while who will not engage with anything except just spamming. But thank you for engaging. Sorry, it's like a repeat troll that loves coming by. Do narcs hate themselves? Not all. A lot of them are like in love with themselves. They hate shame. They hate guilt. It's weird how he loved me one day and then went cold the next. Yeah. Do you know any female reform narcs that are on TikTok? Need a female narcs perspective. I feel like I should, but I don't think I have an exact answer for you. What's your question, though? I'm kind of curious. Sociopath, zero empathy. Where'd you go? Or more, some have criminal charges, hard time holding job. Very knowledge, sadistic in the bedroom. Is that common? Yeah, I would say so. Cluster B Milkshake isn't just narcissist. She's kind of like all over, too. That's why she's called Cluster B Milkshake. She's kind of got all of them. Some of her stuff isn't necessarily narc. Some of the stuff is borderline, maybe a little sociopath. A lot of times their pupils will dilate with like rage, with like intense anger. You'll see that. You never know. Like they might come back. It's always a possibility. The length of getting over the trauma bond depends on the amount of work and effort going into it. Doubt mine cheated, at least physically. He had to be around me 24/7. Are narcs as evil as well? Okay. Are you wanting everyone to see you as a good guy? No, I've been pretty open with all my shit. What does mine say? Why does mine say I'm so emotional? Oh, like he says like you're emotional because he can't handle your emotions because he hasn't developed his, so he doesn't really know how to be able to process your emotions. They probably scare him, they probably frustrate him, they probably make him mad that he doesn't know how to turn them off for you. Untethered soul. Okay. If a narcissist feels you're getting stronger, succeeding, do they then come back? Sometimes they do. They want to try to see you control. No contact trigger them to hoover. No, doesn't trigger that. Thoughts on blocking narc and flying monkeys on social media? Do it yesterday. Mine would always say he wished he could cry. I didn't see all that. I'm sorry. What hurts a narc? Not much of anything. What therapy helped your wife? She went to therapy like with emotional stuff and like talking through like CPSD, things like that. Flying monkeys could be pets. Flying dogs, flying cats. Okay. Can narcs cry? Yes, they can cry. Common misconception. People are like, oh, narcs can't cry. And then someone's on here and they're like, oh, mine cried, so they must not be a narc. And they keep in the abuse. Like, no, they can cry. They can fake it. Not all of them do, but yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that live was a little crazy. I just sat back with that live because I was yeah. Everybody kind of saw I kind of disengaged with that. And I couldn't post it. That was like the sad thing. That live in particular, I couldn't post it because someone like reported Lee or whatever. So I couldn't even like post the replay because it wouldn't download. Anyways. We're gonna be wrapping up here. Oh, I gotta wrap up. It's been 2 hours. 2 hours since we've been on. I feel like there's something else I was gonna say. Thank you guys so much for your support. Yeah, the one thing that is kind of nice is if I screen record on my phone, I can turn off notifications, but if I screen record on my phone, then all the comments actually come through. So people could actually see the comments as they come up. I think I'd have to look, but I think on the recordings, you can't see the comments. I think you can see the questions, how I did it like at the very beginning. You can see them earlier, but I don't think you can see the comments. So that's a little bit different. But yeah, if anybody wants to talk sometime, would love to talk to you one-on-one. So rawmotivations.com. If anyone's interested in attending the trauma bond. Oh, sweet. I was just going to say that. Trauma bond's February 5th. So I'll see you February 5th. Thanks so much. But yeah, if anyone's interested in attending the trauma bond workshop that's coming up on the 5th, I think I saw like a couple of notifications come through. I think there's like 2 slots left or whatever. I had some good feedback from the people who went through the first one and everything like that. But yeah, no, it was good. And then definitely talking with people like one-on-one, trying to help with like coaching, introduce, I guess someone said, yeah, I put up like coaching packages. Cause I have people that have started like meeting with me like regularly, like week on week, which is kind of cool. Just being able to help people like get to the next level and like work through different things. It's been really neat. Thank you so much for a great channel. I appreciate it. So we're trying to build it up and kind of work with people, bringing awareness, awareness, healing, growth, and change. I'm not on here to bring hope. I'm not on here to make people think like, oh, like everybody can change, because they can't if they're not willing to be honest and cut the lies. And there is no hope on lies. Yeah, very true. Check out the podcast too. That's something new. I think I've done technically like 13. I think today was like 13 and tomorrow's like 14. Actually, don't look at days or tomorrows because I record on a different mic and I actually it, but I didn't want to re-record it because I didn't have time. But check out the podcast before then or in 2 days. Until then, don't listen. But yeah. So anyways, like, thank you guys so much. Appreciate all the support, everybody jumping on, everybody sharing the live and like helping just spread the awareness and everything. Like, you guys are really, I love you guys on TikTok because you guys are very supportive and helpful. So I appreciate it. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Yeah, this will be a good one. This will be posted up on YouTube as well, so people are gonna see it. Because honestly, like, in talking with was it Clarity Note? And talking with him for a little bit, like, some of that stuff was definitely like opening up doors, dropping that veil, like you said, a little bit more than what I have. And that's like difficult and scary and like triggering, I guess it was. But yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. Angela and Chrissy, thank you so much for helping out on YouTube. Angela, thank you for being awesome, showing up and helping. That really does help a lot. And I'm going to try to get back into doing the YouTube along with TikTok, just because of these wonderful people that love to spam. But yeah, thanks so much, Angela. I really appreciate it. Chrissy, thanks for jumping over. Like, definitely would love to have you back to help with modding on YouTube. Yeah, it does. It feels like a better community on TikTok. Like, honestly, like, when I got into TikTok, I didn't think it was going to be as much of a community, as much of like a help. Yeah, Tiffany, reach out to me, send me an email, sign up, whatever works. So I'm trying to work with people the best I can. Yeah, no, definitely feel like TikTok is more of a community than what I ever expected. I did not expect TikTok to be, I don't know, as loving, I guess is the right word. As engaging as in like in how helpful kind of thing. Yeah, I mean, there might be some that come on here. Yeah, no, that'd be great. We'd love to talk to you one-on-one. So, sweet. Angela, thanks so much. Chrissy, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I'll stop the YouTube one so we can get rid of all the spammers. Thank you guys so much. Yeah, I do.